Hey everyone, this episode I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different than usual, which is going to some of the reasons why it's a good idea to research your family history. Now, if you're already a genealogist watching this channel, then you will probably agree with everything here. It's nothing new for you. But if you are someone who maybe just recently picked up an interest in family history, or maybe you were just curious and clicked on the thumbnail, then this episode is for you, because what I'm going to be doing is talking about some of the benefits that come from learning about your family. I'm Yona Paley, a professional genealogist, and I hope that this can be a good overview and give you some inspiration for learning more about your family's past. So without further ado, let's go into number one. The first reason that you should care about your family's past is that they had a big impact on who you are today, and by learning about them, it can help contextualize you as an individual. Who you are is in many ways defined by who your parents were, and who they are is defined by how their parents were, and so on and so on. And it doesn't take very many generations until you're looking at hundreds or thousands or even more individual people who all helped contribute to you today. Now, this is really difficult to grasp without actually building out a family tree and seeing the trajectory of all your ancestors. But as you build it out and you see what kind of lives each person led and maybe how that led to their children, you can start to get a good sense for, what sort of actions and life situations led to who you are today, and that's a really cool thing. Reason number two is that learning about your family history helps you to develop empathy in all aspects of life. Now, one big example that I always use personally is my second great-grandfather, Isaac Kohlberg, who ended up in a mental institution and had mental illness back in 1930s and 1920s, back when it was a huge taboo, even bigger than it is today. And this was an ancestor of mine. I would never have known this without doing genealogy. But the fact of the matter is that most people have ancestors who were immigrants, who struggled with poverty, with money, some of whom did very well, and you get a whole bunch of different types of people, different careers, different life paths. It can be so hard to remember that every individual is one out of just billions of people, and if you take the whole existence of humanity, that's way more billions than are even around today. So, you are in the time and place and context that you are right now, but a person living down the street from you or in another country, they have a different set of circumstances, and there's not a whole lot of difference between you and them. It's just a few small actions happened to put you where you are today versus them. I often like to pull out the fact that as an Ashkenazi Jew, the fact that my family left Eastern Europe at the turn of the 20th century, well, that played a very big impact on what happened to their descendants, because if they would have stuck around through World War II, it could quite have possibly been a very different story, and it was for millions of people. So just don't forget that any person, no matter where they come from, no matter what language they speak, they are all in this with you. They're living a very similar kind of existence, even though they have different experiences. Now, reason number three is one of my favorite ones, and that is that researching your family helps you to build connections with others. Some of the closest relationships I've made in the last few years have been with distant cousins of mine who I've reached out to or have reached out to me, and you just really increase the network of people that you know. There's also just the fact that being interested in something like genealogy is a good talking point, and it's something that you can talk about. Everybody has a family, and Sometimes you can strike up a conversation with people about, where did your family come from? And talk about where your family came from. And it's just something that makes you, I think, a more interesting person and a more interested person. Reason number 4 of why you should care about your family history is that it helps you to appreciate the present a lot more. In the day and age of a 24-hour news cycle, it can really feel like everything is just getting worse all the time. And in certain situations and certain places, that is absolutely true. But if you pull back a little bit and look at the grand scheme of things, the world is a lot better off overall than it was 200 years ago. Infant mortality, maternal mortality, these used to be extremely high numbers throughout the world. People would regularly die of bacterial infections that we can easily treat with modern medicine. And there's also a whole other slew of things like workers' rights were pretty much non-existent. If you came to a country as an immigrant, not that it's not still very hard, but you were basically working dangerous factory jobs without any sort of factory requirements whatsoever. So, life was a lot tougher. You probably didn't have any time to see your family in some situations. And you also ran the risk of dying from fairly common diseases. Last but not least, learning about your family is exciting and it helps to build brain power. If you're someone who is into mysteries and solving puzzles, well, I have good news for you. Genealogy is the perfect hobby to take on. Because once you get that first taste of solving a family mystery, you will never want to stop. It's one of the most addictive feelings ever, and it really helps to keep your brain sharp in terms of puzzle solving abilities. And when you finally discover something that you were looking for, it is exciting. It is fun. This channel is called Genealogy is Fun, and there's a reason that I named it that. Because learning about your family isn't some stuffy, boring activity. It is a roller coaster ride full of discovery and mystery and passion and heartbreak, all wrapped up into one bundle. So learning about your family is something that comes with many benefits. If you're someone who's just beginning to get started on this journey, let me know in the comment section below whether you've learned anything or what your feelings are on getting started with this, because it's something that I think most people have a tangential interest in, but not everybody pursues. But once you start pursuing it, it becomes easier and you learn the terminology and you learn more about your family, and pretty soon you have a gigantic family tree and you are the family expert. If you like this episode, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also hit the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I post new episodes. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on social media. I've included links down below, and I'll see you in the next one.